So, as I mentioned last time, I think I've made a little decision. You can call it a resolution, I guess, although I don't look at it that way because I don't want to stress out about it too much. But basically, what it is that I've decided that I need to do at least one social thing every week. Because for the past few years, since the COVID lockdowns, I haven't done a lot of social things. And wow, for the most part, I've been quite content with that. I'm coming to realize that it's actually not good for me, probably, even though I feel comfortable about it and I don't feel like I miss socializing all that much. I think I can definitely see ways in which it affects me, even if it feels good or kind of comfortable to me. So, anyway, I've decided that this is the year when we're going to challenge that. And this weekend, I had my social thing for the previous week, and I had some thoughts that I'd like to share and maybe kind of even keep and express for my own consumption as well. So basically, for a little background, one of the reasons why my socializing has kind of died down after the lockdowns is that during the COVID times, a lot of my friends moved away, and I just haven't had the energy or drive to go out and meet new people again because I've been living in Denmark for 15 years, maybe 15 and a half now. And in that time, I've moved through 3 different cities. I've gone through so many different friend groups and social circles. So many times my social life has been destroyed by either me moving away or my friends moving away or us just growing apart or all kinds of life circumstances. And I've come to a place where I started to feel very burned out on socializing and social activities and friendships and stuff because it started to feel like I put all this time and effort and then it just falls apart. And then you have to start over again. And it's kind of exhausting. Every now and then I've met people who are still friends with people that they met in kindergarten or like primary school. And that blows my mind because I think my oldest friendship right now is probably 9 years old-ish. And that's with my boyfriend. And in the grand scheme of things, it's not a very long time, I guess. And I can't imagine knowing someone for 20 plus years. I have no idea what that's like. And part of that, of course, is because I've moved abroad. But at the time I moved, I already had lost touch with my childhood friends long ago. So I think that probably would have been the case even if I stayed there. I think probably for me a big part of why this is happening is because I tend to change a lot, and I think with that comes a re-evaluation of my social circle. So this weekend I joined the hiking meetup. I guess hiking is a bit of a strong word for this because Denmark is flat. There is no hiking. I actually don't know if hiking requires any kind of elevation or like, for me, I guess in my head, hiking is like a thing you do in the mountains, which we don't have over here. So maybe it was more of a nature walk, I guess. Let me know what's the proper term in English, but a walk, a very long walk. It was advertised as 20 kilometers. Apparently it turned out to be more like 30, which might be my personal new record, and I can feel it 2 days later in my legs, but it's very happy pain. Anyway, that's why I never record sit down talking things anymore. I just can't keep my points straight. This would be a nightmare to edit. Anyway, so I joined this meetup. It was through a Facebook group that I joined years ago and just never joined any of the events because almost every time I see any activities, it's people talking about something that's already happened, and I just could never catch an event before it was happening. But this time I managed to see it a week early, and I decided that, okay, this is the one. This is the one I'm joining, unless the weather turns out to be horrible. And especially this time of year, it's a huge challenge for me to accept that I'll be outside for the whole day. But we were incredibly lucky with the weather. It was beautiful. It was maybe 5-6 degrees, which is not my favorite temperature, but for this time of year, it's very generous. Probably for bad reasons, but let's not go there right now. The walk also was starting really early in the morning, at 8, which is early for me, and at a place that is an hour away from where I live. So that meant I had to get up at 6 in the morning, which I don't love, but it wasn't that bad. The morning was incredibly foggy, which I loved. I love foggy weather, and that kind of added another beautiful dimension to the walk for the first hour or two, because later on the fog lifted, and that was also good because we get to see more of the environment and some beautiful views. The walk was around this pretty big lake, so there were definitely views. And the most important part is that I didn't know any of the people at that event, which is not a problem for me because I quite enjoy meeting people for the first time. I think it's keep meeting them, which is kind of like more of a hurdle for me. But yeah, it reminded me a lot of 10 years ago when I first moved to Copenhagen and didn't know anyone at all. So I was going to a lot of meetups and events with people I didn't know, and it was a very like fresh and kind of exciting time in my life. So it gave me a bit of a throwback to that time, which felt good. But anyway, I think what I'm trying so hard to get to is that something that I really, really loved about going to this meetup, aside from the weather being so good and the walk being really enjoyable and long, I love long walks, and being in nature, was some of the conversations I had. I think that when I meet new people, there is a type of conversation I always kind of dread having, and it's the one that it's most likely that you're going to have. And I did have a little bit of that as well, but it was very little compared to usual times when you meet people. And that's when people ask you, so what do you do? And the general conversation about jobs and work. And I've always dreaded that conversation for different reasons. Back when I was studying and working in areas that I had no interest or passion for, but I was doing it because it was the reasonable thing to do. I hated talking about it because I didn't enjoy what I was doing, and I just didn't want to talk about it. And I always thought that if I loved what I was doing, I would like having that conversation. And now that I do what I love, I still hate that conversation. And that was kind of a strange realization for me. And I think I now hate it for different reasons. I just feel that there is always some amount of shame and lack of fulfillment that goes along with this question. And maybe it's just for me, I don't know. It's a very common conversation that seems like everyone wants to have. So maybe people love to talk about it, or maybe it's just the easiest topic to bring up, but there is always some kind of baggage that comes with it. If you don't know, I'm doing illustration, I'm an illustrator, so that's a dream job for many people. It was for me, and it still is. I love absolutely everything about it except my finances. They are making my life really, really difficult. And I don't want to add to the starving artist stereotype, but it exists for a reason, because a lot of us really, really struggle. While people love consuming creative work, whether it's illustration or movies or games or books or what have you, people hate paying for it. And while the joy of creativity is very powerful and valuable, it doesn't pay the rent, it doesn't fill the fridge, so it can't be the only payment we get. But anyway, that's a different conversation. So, yeah, a big reason I think why I enjoyed this walk so much is that for most of it, first of all, I could get out of my head and from my constant negative thoughts and worries about finances, which was very relaxing because when I'm on my own, I can't really do that. No matter what I do, no matter what kind of techniques and whatever I'm trying, I keep coming back to it. It's like you keep circling, trying to figure out how to solve these problems and get out of these situations. So the last thing I want is when I go out and meet people to keep talking about it and keep going over these same issues that I'm already stuck on by myself. And that has actually also been one big reason why I didn't want to meet people very much, because I don't want to talk about how it's going and how I am and what I'm doing, because I don't want to think about it. I'm thinking about it all the time. I want to think and talk about, I don't know, something that doesn't make me feel sad and depressed all the time. And so many conversations get to that point, and that's partly my fault because sometimes I bring up these things. It's not I'm not putting it on other people. It's just so easy to devolve into those conversations. But yeah, what were the conversations I was having? For the most part, we spoke about nature and how much we love being in nature and the camping experiences we had, the trips that we took, the places we visit, the funny stories that happened, the joys of being in a beautiful, quiet place, of disconnecting, of doing it alone or doing it with friends. And it might not seem like a big conversation, but we did keep it up for hours. So, yeah, and that was so relaxing for the mind to just bond with others over how amazing nature is. And again, oftentimes when you have those conversations, it's hard not to get into topics like pollution and climate change and how hopeless all of that is. But thankfully, even though we did touch on all that, we mostly stayed with the positive aspects of that topic, and that was just so good. I had forgotten what it is to have like a carefree and happy conversation. Everything has been always, I don't know, in the past few years focused on really horrible things. And that's not to say that these conversations are not important and that we should avoid them because they're uncomfortable, but also staying very focused on them and going over and over in cycles and just amplifying each other's hopelessness and desperation. It hasn't brought me to a good place. I think probably hasn't brought anyone to a good place. And on top of that, it also keeps you very stuck in a hopeless place, because just constantly thinking about how big the problems are and how hard it is to solve them turns out actually doesn't really motivate you. So yeah, I don't know how long this feeling will last that I got from this hike. I think that I will probably, in the course of this week, go back to my usual pattern. So it just means that I need to go out and have more of these kind of interactions more often, so that hopefully it keeps my thoughts more in check. But having had that experience, I wanted to serve as a reminder for myself and hopefully for someone who might see this, that if you're stuck and you keep focusing on that stuckness, you only get more stuck. And distractions only can take you so far, but I think that what this walk and this conversation wasn't necessarily a distraction in the sense of I'm putting away these thoughts for the time being and just forgetting for them for a little bit, the way you do when you watch a movie or play a game. I think what this conversation was instead was reminding yourself of the good things and the hopeful things and the things that we still have and we still can do, and And creating that kind of excitement energy, I guess, is, I don't know, it is more motivating in a way. It's not like we've solved any problems, but I feel more fresh and more ready to keep on doing what I'm doing. Anyway, I have no idea if I've made the point that I actually want to make. I'm sure this is very rambly and maybe I should have sit down and written an outline a little bit, but I didn't do that. So yeah, I would say that so far for January, having this goal of doing one social thing a week has not changed my life, but it has given me a glimpse of hope that I've been lacking for many years. And it's very tiny, small spark of something that could very easily be extinguished. And there is a lot of things going on in the world right now that, and in my personal life, that can very easily squash any kind of positive spark. But I will try to keep looking for those sparks, and hopefully enough sparks will light a fire or something. I really didn't think through this, but I really, really hope that I'm making some kind of point, because I am feeling this kind of little bit of excitement and I do want to kind of... Whoa, so my camera decided to cut me off, giving me the hint that I've been rambling on for too long. So thank you for that, camera. Let's wrap it up. I kind of forgot what I was saying. So yeah, I think basically what I was trying to say was that I wanted to capture this moment when the clouds have parted a little bit for me, and kind of try to understand and explain for myself, hopefully maybe for someone else who might need it, what has helped for that to happen. Wow, I think I'm having such a hard time expressing myself in a good way. Basically, I have had a little bit of a breakthrough, I guess, which I'm trying to understand and communicate and hopefully keep in mind to keep working in the direction that seems to be helpful. Unfortunately, I have the very annoying trait that every time I have some kind of breakthrough or realization, it kind of is there for like 5 minutes and then I just forget about it and go back to the old patterns. So that might completely happen again, but I think I will try to keep enforcing that one social thing a week rule thing. And yeah, we'll see what happens. Anyway, I hope this made any kind of sense. Let me know if it did or didn't, and also let me know what has worked for you to get you out of a negative thought spiral, I guess. Anyway, I was just about wrapping this up and then I kept rambling. I don't even know if this is going to be useful at all, or maybe I'll have to